Hey everybody, Mike Toy Bonsai Boise. This is my Jacqueline Hillier Elm. I did a video on this a few months ago. I repotted it. It was this giant bush and I got it down to this. And as you can see, it's real healthy. But I think it's so healthy, in fact, that it's time to give it a trim. But let's do a quick recap. So back in March of this year, that's what it ended up looking like. About a month later, kept an eye on it, and there's some new buds popping out. Always a good sign. Popping out in some of the wrong places, but popping out nonetheless. So we know it lived. It's always that first repot that's the most dangerous. I'm just going to get rid of a couple of the buds that are popping out in spots I don't want. There we go. That's a little better. This tree is kind of peculiar, which we're going to see more of here in a second. Here it is, just like a week after that, and you can see those buds all turn into leaves. It's got a really weird growth habit. It's almost like a field that was just sown with seed. You know, just a straight line right down the trunk with buds popping out. And then of course there's back budding elsewhere. A little bit of dieback up there. But otherwise on a few spots on this trunk, it's like somebody just sowed a line of buds on it. It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen a tree that did that. Maybe it's normal and I've just never seen it, but I've never seen it. There it is about a week after that. So once it started growing, it really started growing. I was never completely sold on the style and shape, but I had to start somewhere. It was such a bush at the time that it was kind of like a blank canvas, which I love. I love those high potential raw material type situations. And that's what this was. So I gave it kind of a rough go and figured we'd have to make some changes later as things started to grow out more. Yeah, going into this, I really didn't know anything about these, and I still kind of don't. They're actually kind of a mystery on where they came from. Here it is in May. I did some reading on these, and from what I read, they were first, I'm going to say spotted or found, discovered in an English garden in the 1960s. The owner of the garden said they don't know where exactly it came from, but some previous relative had it imported from somewhere else. And that's it. That's all we know about it. It is believed to be a hybrid of some type, so some type of man-made hybrid. Pretty cool though. So it's got a really tight leaf growth pattern there. And here it is now, or present. I guess this was about a week and a half ago from today, technically. But as you can see, it's growing out quite a bit. It's quite a bush. And I could have let it keep going, but as you can see, it's kind of like not a well-kept tree. It's just growing out of everywhere. So I wanted to nip it in the bud and sort of try to get it on a path toward, some kind of plan. So I start trimming. And at first I just nibble at it. Just try and nibble around and maybe form a plan as I go. Truth be told, I did not have a plan going into this. And you're going to see the results. It didn't go, I'd say it didn't go according to plan, but I didn't have a plan. I guess I don't know what I expected. I kind of thought as I nipped around and started trimming it up that a plan would sort of form, because it usually does. Some kind of idea of a plan. I'm digging and I'm digging. I'm like, okay, well, I just wanted to get an idea of what's happening. So as you can see, there's a lot of, there's a lot of growth coming out of the same spots. Like 1, 2, 3 on the right side, 1, 2 on the left. Right at the base of branches, it's like, and almost nothing down that first offshoot there, the big branch to the right. Almost nothing in between. So, still stumped here on which way I'm going to go, so I keep nipping at it. Try to do a little cleanup as I go. Start making cuts in spots where I know for a fact I'm not going to want growth, like right in the elbow of a branch. That type of thing, like there. I keep hoping that some kind of vision is going to open up for me on here. But I'll give you a spoiler alert. Nothing opens up. I keep nipping away and nipping away. So here's a little midway pause. I stop and like, all right, what are we doing here? One thing I can tell for sure is that first branch that goes off to the right, I don't like. It's just a long, straight, goofy looking branch. And that's not going to work. I like movement, especially in elms. Elms ramify so easily that there's really no excuse to have a long, straight branch or trunk. Because you can get movement just, without even trying. But I didn't want to get drastic and start cutting off big main branches yet, because I still don't exactly have a plan. So we don't want to be hasty. So I guess I will say, in no way do I think this tree is a lost cause. I think it still has great potential. I see different things I can do, but not much that I can do right now. Here's another problem that sort of opened up. When I first repotted this, I thought that was a mass of roots in there, a mass of kind of like fine feeder roots. And so my thinking was they would harden off, and with a little time, they would all sort of fuse together and create one thick root base. But now that I'm poking around in there, I see that is not the case. What it actually is, it's some type of like a weed barrier type material, like a cloth or felt type thing. Something, fur. So that opens up a whole different can of worms of a problem now. Because I don't want a root base that's got all these different roots going out. One thought that comes to my mind is next time I repot it, I could try to spread those roots out a little more and do like a root over rock. That was never my initial intention, but it is one thing I can do. I'd have to find a very specifically shaped rock. It's not exactly what I wanted to do. I still kind of don't. It's going to be sort of a last resort. One thing I always loved about this tree is that it had such good taper. Or so I thought. I could get rid of that big top there, like that, maybe air layer it off and just leave that as a tree. Or I could go the other way, or I could take off just that top and start there. I could bring the soil level up some and cover up those spread out roots. I could get rid of that. So there's still a lot of things I can do, but none of which I really had planned for or thought I was gonna do. So yeah, this one is kind of stumping me. I'm not gonna say I never get stumped, but I don't think I usually get stumped like this. There was just once I got in there was just no clear plan. See what I mean about that? Look at that growth pattern. It's like all those branches were just like sewn in there. That's the only way I know how to describe it. When I look at it, that's the image I kind of get in my mind. It's like a farmer went through and just sewed a bunch of branches in there. It's weird. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. Anybody watching, if you've seen something like that before. I mean, I know trees have regular patterns, usually like an alternating pattern or an every other, who knows. I've never seen one like that, just a straight line on each side too. It's cool, it's unique, different and weird. So at this point, I decide to just sort of cut my losses, trim it up into a fairly respectable shape and size, and give it some time and just look at it, think on it, maybe do a little more digging on these type of trees, see what I can find out. And with time, and the more I look at it, the more I'll come up with some kind of plan. It'll likely be some type of air layer, is my guess. But that root base throws a different wrench in the whole plan. So then I got to figure out how to deal with that. Bring the soil level up some to cover that up. It would still have decent taper if, say, the soil was 1.5 inches or so higher. Or I could do a root over rock. Would love to hear your thoughts on that too. In the meantime, I'm going to give it a neem oil bath. That's what I've been doing lately. Just pretty much any time I pull out a tree and work on it, I just give it a neem oil bath. I buy neem oil in concentrate and just mix it up in this bottle. And I'm pretty generous with it. I really douse it. Get up underneath the leaves and branches, anywhere the little bugs might be hiding. Wait 20 or 30 minutes, and give it a rinse. A generous rinse as well. One thing I am told is you don't want to spray a tree down with neem oil and then put it out in direct sun, because the oil on it can burn the leaves. So I always do it in the shade, particularly, usually in the evening. And then back on the bench it goes as we decide its fate for later. Would love to hear your comments and thoughts, any opinions that you have. And please like and subscribe. I appreciate when you do. And have a good rest of your day, everybody.